Hi everyone, thanks for joining today's webinar from Insights to Action, Executing Successful Cross-Channel Attribution and Optimization. During today's webinar we'll be discussing the latest thinking on cross-channel attribution and data-driven optimization. I'm Lauren Evans, Kenshoo's marketing lead for APJ, and we're thrilled to be joined by Forrester, the leading independent research company. We'll do our introduction shortly. To our speakers shortly, but first just a bit of housekeeping. Before we dive in, you can listen to the audio via your computer speakers. If you're having any trouble hearing, feel free to tell us in a chat box on the left-hand side of your screen, and we'll be happy to troubleshoot. In addition, if you have any questions for the speakers, type them in a chat box and we'll address these in the Q&A session at the end of the webinar. The session will also be recorded and the slides made available, which I'll send through over email after the session. And so I'll just introduce our speakers, Tina and Daniel. Tina Moffett is an analyst with Forrester who serves customer insight professionals. She focuses on consumer marketing and measurement and analytics. Her research agenda focuses on attribution, marketing mix modeling, metrics and measurement development and analysis, ROI measurement, and impact and dashboards reporting. We've also got Daniel Mourad from Kenshoo. He has over 12 years digital experience in data-driven and performance marketing. He's worked with major agencies and brands to help them understand the end-to-end customer interactions. During his career, Daniel has worked with blue-chip companies including IBM and Experian, where he's led strategic projects to help develop global businesses. So today's agenda. Tina will cover the age of the customer, survey findings and recommendations, and Daniel will talk about the power of advanced attribution models, predictive marketing applications beyond attribution, and some key takeaways. We'll then go through the Q&A session. I'll now hand you over to Tina.
Great, thank you. And thank you everybody for joining the webinar today. My name is Tina Moffett. I am an analyst with Forrester Research on the Customer Insights team. And I cover measurement, which includes attribution, marketing mix, and best-in-class metrics to measure marketing impact and efficiencies. So today I'm really excited to be here to chat with you a bit about what we call at Forrester the age of the customer. I'm also going to share some survey results based on a study that was commissioned by Kenshoo in partnership with Forrester on measurement and using attribution to provide speed to insights. And then finally, I'll leave you with some recommendations on how you can become more measurement savvy. So let's just jump right in, and I'll chat with you about the age of the customer. The age of the customer is what Forrester defines as a 20-year business cycle in which the most successful enterprises will reinvent themselves to systematically understand and serve increasingly powerful customer. The age of the customer requires businesses to interact with its customers, to learn more about them, and leverage those learnings to send relevant messages, offers, and interactions. In this age of the customers, individuals are always addressable. There's now 6.8 billion subscriptions in place compared to 7.1 billion people on the whole planet. And consumers access the internet multiple times a day from multiple devices in multiple locations. And in the age of the customer, mobile accelerates the shift, right? So companies are becoming less and less product focused, more and more consumer focused. In a recent Forrester study, we calculated the mobile intensity score. This score is a 0 to 100 scale, indicates how intensely people actually interact with their mobile device. The mobile intensity score is based on how frequently people interact with smartphones and tablets and the diversity of locations in which they interact, both within and outside the home. The online U.S. average of the mobile intensity score is 27, but interestingly the mobile intensity varies greatly globally. It's 38 in Hong Kong, 28 in Metro China, 20 in Germany, and 16 in the UK. When scoring a group of customers, a score above 35 indicates a high level of readiness for mobile interactions. So we do see a higher adoption in the APAC region than we see in the U.S., Germany, and UK, which indicates that people are more engaged. Thus, there's more of an opportunity for brands to engage with customers across mobile devices. And CI pros and marketers want to use analytics to make better business decisions and improve customer interactions. Business decision makers are leading the charge for improved insights. Along with compliance and risk management, traditional business intelligence and analytics initiatives have typically targeted overall business performance, specifically process improvements and strategic business planning. While these are still critical to ongoing business success, they're no longer the top priorities. Instead, the APAC region specifically, the organization's top business and analytics-related objectives are to make better informed business decisions and improve those customer interactions and satisfaction. So again, in conjunction with shifting to the age of the customer, analytics and measurement and insights have also made that shift, not only to stay focused on using measurement and analytics in the age of the customer, but also to drive business decisions, but also use it to increase engagement and to learn more about their customers. So this obviously puts a huge spotlight on measurement and analytics to provide value. There's an increased spotlight on this to help weed through the information with greater precision, with insights, and using advanced analytics and measurement rigor. It's an exhausting process, but organizations are using analytics and measurement to drive their business decisions and their marketing decisions and their media buying decisions. So what we're seeing in terms of adoptions in this trend is very interesting, and through sharing the results of the survey, we'll bring some trends to you. So before we jump into the details of the Kenshoo Commission survey, I want to give you a sense of what this survey was really about. What happened was that Kenshoo commissioned a survey to evaluate attribution measurement. The hypothesis was that organizations really struggle to use their attribution results to better understand their customers and their journeys within a given brand. And this means better use means activating their results. They wanted to move from an understanding of just kind of using it as a report to actually making changes to their media strategy and marketing strategy. The survey itself was focused on 106 marketers, advertisers, and customer insights professionals currently using attribution measurements, supplemented by additional in-depth interviews to provide some more feedback for the survey. And I believe the survey is available on the Kenshoo website with a full write-up for more details. And what we're going to share with you today are the details of the study. But before we jump in, I kind of want to level set with first giving you a sense of what do we mean by cross-channel attribution. I've been covering this space for 3 years now, and we've settled on the definition that it is the practice of allocating proportional credit across all marketing, communications, and media across all channels that led to a desired customer action. Now this is user-level interaction, and this is across all channels, digital, some offline, maybe on mobile devices, and also with in-store. That is true cross-channel attribution, while leveraging advanced analytics to allocate credit. So for example, if I receive an email, and so I'll just display ad, click through, went to the website, and made a purchase, the attribution algorithm will tell me how much credit should be given to that email and that display ad. To further illustrate this, when we think about different approaches to measurement, there's three core buckets. The first is last or first touch, where you're giving all credit to the first or last interaction that led to that desired customer action. And that desired customer action can be a conversion or a sale. The second type of attribution measurement is rules-based. So if you have multiple interactions with a customer that you've identified that led to, let's say, a conversion, you're applying rules to allocate credit. So in my previous example of an email and a display ad that led to a conversion, or in this example that you see here, credit rules-based could evenly be given credit across all those interactions. But true advanced attribution is what you see on this slide right here, where you're using data-driven approaches to allocate credit across all interactions. The downside to this is it could be very complex to understand, does not account for customer affinity information, hard to manage user level data and dimensions, and analysis may be challenging to interpret. That being said, if you have the right partner and if you have a really good data-driven marketing organization, these insights could be truly saving you money and costs, media costs, CPA costs, and marketing, and have a more effective targeted marketing strategy. So let's move on to the survey. What did we exactly learn from the Kenshoo Forrester survey? I think the Kenshoo survey that we administered showed us a few things, especially on the activation front of the questions. So first, what we found was that organizations leverage many channels to reach and grow customers. The average marketer we surveyed is using 13 channels to drive their marketing and media objectives. This reflects marketers' increasingly omnichannel approach to reach, retain, and grow customer base. 60% of these channels are included in marketers' attribution measurement. And digital channels dominate those that measured, taking 8 out of the 10 spots. Referral marketing and magazine and newspapers rounded out the top 10. Now, a little commentary on this. It's to no surprise that advanced attribution really focuses on the digital side because digital data is user level based. It's you can easily collate it and track it. It's a little bit difficult and starting to become even more difficult to track people from their digital PC to their mobile device, or even digital PC to traditional direct response campaigns, so think catalogs and direct mail, and then maybe a conversion in store. That's when it starts to become very, very complex. But needless to say, on the digital side, advanced attribution is really well embraced, allowing for marketers to allocate digital media spend more appropriately, identify inventory opportunities where they can buy the appropriate inventory and then bid on the appropriate search terms. We also found that marketers use basic attribution approach to measure impact. This is really of no surprise. While the majority of the marketers surveyed, 76%, have moved beyond single-touch attribution, but only 11% use advanced algorithmic attribution as recommended by Forrester. Additionally, many marketers are applying the attribution too narrowly. Only 24% consistently measure cross-channel effects. And marketers may be hesitant to adopt advanced attribution approaches because they find them difficult to understand and communicate to the greater organizations. At Forrester, one of my jobs is to take inquiries from large global brands. And some of the challenges that they face, and that's consistent with what we found in the Kenshoo survey, was the challenge of showing the value of measurement and analytics. In fact, in another survey that we conducted independently at Forrester, we found one of the challenges was organization and getting buy-in from colleagues of the value of measurement and analytics. So it's to no surprise that advanced attribution is really not wide adopted just yet. So it's really up to having that CMO or that C-level or even an EVP level sponsor really embracing advanced attribution and being the advocate for it. We also found that few marketers measure cross-channel halo effects. Only 24% of marketers measure many channels and campaigns simultaneously. So when we say cross-channel effects, think of effects of, for example, TV on search, or the effect of seeing a display ad on search. So there's less of that complexity of cross-channel measurement, and there's more of just an adoption of measuring channel impact in a very singular way. Additionally, what we found was that marketers seek measurement help from their partners, attribution vendors or adjacent vendors. Are looked upon to provide expertise, but the attribution market is extremely fragmented, as demonstrated by this graphic here. Marketers are turning to a wide variety of partners to help them with their attribution needs. Despite the potential analytic and data challenges, only 15% are using attribution specialists or marketing performance measurement specialists. Just as many more are turning to other providers such as DMPs or data management platforms, marketing service providers, web analytic providers. Firms may be avoiding bringing on an attribution technology because of the cost of onboarding a new technology, or because they just don't want to manage another one. And they're turning to the existing relationships that they have for more guidance. Objectiveness of spending recommendations, however, is the challenge when they measure it through a third-party provider as well. What we also found was that marketers face many hurdles in preventing attribution insights. Organizational support is the biggest hurdle in preventing actionable insights. Corporate marketers say that their largest obstacle is blocking more action on attribution results is the confidence of their colleagues. So they need more confidence from their colleagues, and this is likely in part to reconciling the attributed results with other analysis. So for example, if you have your attribution results and they're telling you that your email conversion rates are 1% less than what your campaign management systems are telling you, those metrics are hard to reconcile and hard to explain to VPs of marketing and C-level executives. So this, of course, still remains to be one of the biggest challenges in improving the value of measurement and analytics. And further, to support this, again, citing my previous survey that I did independent of this, it's very consistent with what I've seen too. Organizational challenge. Another challenge that we do see is data challenge as well, and then turning insights into action. So specifically looking at the data, and you may have noticed this throughout the presentation, the 3 lines. We surveyed marketing or media agencies, and then brands, and then everyone together, as indicated by the darker of the blue lines. But what we found on the agency side specifically, agencies really labor to alter media plans based on attribution. And what we found there was that when we asked what are the 2 biggest obstacles for taking greater action, Incorporating attribution results into media plan is cumbersome, but especially on the agency side, and existing media partners or agency contracts limit the changes to budgets is another challenge as well. So again, for agencies, this is really difficult to turn the insights into action, and partly because there could be a limited understanding to, well, how is this actually calculated? And then that's number one. And number two is, how do I read the results and alter my plans, which the planning process can still be very manual, still very much in Excel spreadsheets. And how do I do that and then use my ad technologies to execute? That always seems to be the challenge there. We also found that marketers want attribution to answer more difficult questions. Marketers are under increased demands to make more data-driven choices and demonstrate the ROI on all of their investments. And this not only is down at the campaign level, but also at the channel level. So marketers are turning towards attribution for answers, from changing media buys to measuring incremental sales to evaluating different creative content. Luckily, attribution models can provide that type of guidance on all threes, but marketers need to use testing to ensure validity. So in this question, when evaluating attribution outputs and results, we found that both on the agency side and on the brand side was that changing the media buys and measuring true incrementality was the number one and number two things that were critically important, and that's because there's two components here, and that's the actionability component, and then there's a component of accurately measuring incrementality, and both are constant challenges within marketing organizations, specifically for analytics professionals when they're providing more in-depth insights to marketing and media performance or customer performance, or who attrited, who they retain. Taking action on that is really difficult, and sometimes the analytics professionals may make recommendations that may not be actionable. And even with attribution technologies, taking that action is still a challenge, and partly because sometimes it's an integration issue with actual kind of ad technology systems to execute recommendations and action on these insights, and part of it is organizational. On the incrementality side, there's always an issue with measuring incrementality because it's always hard to measure against a base population and measuring whether or not if a person would have made the purchase anyway. We've seen in the past 12 to 18 months that has started to become a very important factor as customers are more connected and the complexity of the omni-channel purchase path. We also found that experience and greater channel measurement drive satisfaction. We asked about satisfaction levels in two ways, and overall both received relatively high scores, but the most satisfied marketers who gave a very or completely satisfied score did display some important differences. First, they measured more channels in their attribution models, about 2 additional channels compared to less satisfied marketers. And measuring online display advertising in particular was an important satisfaction driver. Secondly, a little organizational experience with attribution was important. Those with at least 12 months were significantly more satisfied. So again, marketers and advertisers that had very complex marketing and media strategies across different channels, and marketers that are a little bit more well-versed were extremely satisfied with their current measurement insights efforts and the ability to take action. Speed to action also improves satisfaction. 42% of marketers have the processes and technologies to act on their attributed results at least several times a day. The same group also reported significantly higher satisfaction levels when it came to acting on attribution insights, with 75% saying they are very or completely satisfied. Marketers need to invest in the processes and technologies that support real-time decisions, and should look for technologies that that really focus and link into online advertising and bid management platforms. So taking some time into this, I think this was a real aha moment for Forrester and Kenshoo when we looked at these results, because there's always been a question on how do you make these attribution models less about reporting and more about actionability, because what's a good report unless you can take action on this? And I think the cross-section of people who have the technologies that can take action on that and their satisfaction level is a good indication that having connected technologies to where you can take action on insights to make your media planner's job a little bit easier, or your marketing strategist's job a little bit easier, so that they can make more efficient buying decisions where they can focus on other areas. They were just overall happier with the results that they were given. So having those connected technologies made it easier for them to actually turn those insights into action. And then finally, integration of attributed results into media buying platforms is desirable. I mean, bridging from the previous slide, what we found was that 68% are very likely or completely likely to use technologies that can rapidly adjust digital media spends. Marketers recognize the need to understand their customers' current context and what their brands need to do to respond to changing trends and even fads that help drive conversion. This necessitates technologies that provide a programmatically and analytically driven way to rapidly adjust digital media spends. These technologies are available today, and marketers want them, as indicated by this insight, where 68% are completely likely to use technologies to adjust those buys. So again, some really interesting findings through this survey, but I think some of the things that popped for us at Forrester, and I think for Kenshoo, was that having those integrated technologies are extremely necessary for marketers and advertisers to take action on. Satisfaction levels of measurement and analytics are extremely high for marketers who are more comfortable in doing measurement and have more experience as well. So those are some key takeaways. So what can you do in terms of becoming a little bit more measurement savvy? What we found was, based on the analysis, we recommend to first build a business case for deeper measurement. And this may be on building a business case for advanced attribution, or it may be just building a business case for more a deeper workflow around measurement and analytics. That it's going to require investment to build, to develop processes, to understand and socialize results across the organization. So it's necessary to plan that process together that covers the range of benefits, costs, and includes those risks. This approach works whether you decide if you build it in-house, source a technology, or implement with consultants. The returns are likely there to justify the investment, but they won't be realized in the first quarter. At Forrester, I built a ROI model investments in measurement, both in-house and if you were to buy the investment, definitely check it out to figure out kind of what that ROI of that technology or a focused in-house build would be. Second is embrace a stepwise approach to attribution measurement, and I mean this in a way, if you have kind of a disjointed measurement path, start out with what you have, embrace rules-based, and then embrace a more advanced technique. Third is connect marketing and media insights to recommendations. And this could be recommendations in terms of actually making recommendations on where your media buying should be focused on next, or it could be connecting marketing and media insights to actual execution engines. The era of quarterly kind of direct mail, budget planning, where organizations could spend weeks and weeks tweaking and targeting and messaging and kind of targeting the right audience, it's over. A good portion, about likely half of your consumers are always connected, so you need to have that agility to respond to them rapidly. Part of that is making the right recommendations as quickly as possible and executing on that. And then finally, test and experiment new marketing and media strategies to continually improve. Attribution models can be complex, but the best validation model is simple. It's in-market testing. In addition to proving out your recommendations and looking at whether or not the model is valid, testing with better measurement will, with attribution, will promote different types of experimentation. So for example, you could test different content offer, timing, audience. Don't limit your attribution tool or your approach by only improving what you have always done. Use it as an opportunity to discover new approaches, to discover new ideas in ways to communicate with your customer base. It may include, like I said, testing new publishers for display ads, different contract frequency on popular social media sites, different messaging for magazines, or multivariate tests that combine all of them or combine a multitude of content, creative and channel. The important thing is to leverage the measurement methodology to accelerate your learnings and identify gaps where you can capitalize on. So those were the results of the Kenshoo study commissioned, the Kenshoo Commission study. A lot of interesting insights in terms of advanced attribution. So thank you for joining, and I'm going to pass it back to the Kenshoo team.
Thanks, Tina, and welcome to everyone on the call. If we still have any Australians on the call, good luck in the cricket later on this afternoon. And today I'm just going to talk sort of really how I suppose the Kenshoo technology can sort of help you on this journey. So Tina gave some great insights and a lot of information. And I think there's a lot of things happening in our market. And 2 points that really hit me is how speed and agility can really help us to test and learn to take advantage. So as you can see from the quote, attribution has been a problem for a long time. But I would argue that we're in an age now where we can finally start to leverage this problem for our benefit. I've been in Singapore for 6 years now. When I first arrived, you couldn't buy a pair of shoes online. Now e-commerce is commonplace and the rise of digital is here. But how many of you have started to measure conversions and who here is sort of moving beyond last touch attribution? So what we want to sort of talk about is how we can start to sort of bring you through this journey. And if you're sort of on the basic attributions, move you into the more advanced models. So before we sort of dig into what that could look like, I wanted to go through some of the data that we have in APJ across two of our major verticals, retail and travel. As you can see, we're seeing a steady rise in CTRs, but our CPCs are also sort of steadily declining. Most likely due to the increased competition, but what this really means is that you need to understand how best to spend your dollars, and it's becoming more and more competitive for everyone out there. And if you're not taking advantage of things like attribution, you're not going to be able to get the best return on your dollar. Attribution, as Tina mentioned, is a great place to start, and there are various models of attribution. The most basic one, as we spoke about earlier, is the linear models, the last click, divide equally, U-shaped. They're great models. They're available in Kenshoo at the moment. And this is what I'd strongly recommend if anyone out there is still just using last click as their preferred method. They're great models, and historically they work. They rely on pre-built destination paths, but provide benefit of being simple and easy to utilize. The only issue is that obviously you're putting all your eggs in one basket and assuming that everyone takes the same journey. The studies we've seen earlier back this up, and if you're using last click at the moment, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. Even if moving to prefer last and taking notice of the steps leading up to conversion, we've seen it help demonstrate uplift in performance time over. As a marketer, you need to be able to give credit where it's due. This way you can understand more about what levers you have to pull. Now, Kenshoo commissioned a recent study, and we saw that Facebook value is getting missed and is 30% higher than just looking at the last click alone. So think about the impact of just including social data in your conversion path. I still believe that search is the biggest signal to measure intent, but using the social and display signals to help understand the impact on the purchase path is critical to success and can have some very meaningful insights very early on in this journey. So the linear models are a great place to start, but we know that the customer path is not a linear journey, and the journeys are getting more complex and challenging. What I'd like to do is see how we can address that, and I see this in two ways. You can either have someone analyze every conversion across your business and assign value to each and every step in this journey, or you can use algorithms to do the analysis. The more obvious answer is to use the automated and programmatic ways to help you determine the value that you should assign, but we have had clients that have tried to explore the manual method, and what I can say is it's a long and a difficult journey. As with all great things, it's a skill, and the more you practice, the better you're going to get. As a marketer, your goal is to get better at the measurements to help you better understand what decisions to make. I pity a lot of marketers because there's a lot of data, a lot of technology, and a lack of expertise and skill in this space. So one thing is clear: the more time you try to understand what is out there, the better you're going to be at adapting to this skill. Kenshoo is an option in this space, and we provide the various options from the basic linear models to our more sophisticated algorithmic models. Our view on attribution is that we're not trying to build a big picture, but we want Kenshoo to differentiate itself in the market by looking at attribution as a way to optimize and use all the signals it can to help build performance. I just want to talk about a couple of features that we have in the tool today that can help leverage all the data that you may have. Attribution shouldn't just be about giving you a report, but actually putting these insights into action. So if we think about a football game, you're the coach of that football team, but you can only get to watch a replay of the game highlights on TV the next day. It's great to see, but it's only a snapshot of what happened last night. You can't influence anything that happened in the game. What you want to be is you want to be the coach in the game in real time to make the changes necessary to ensure the success of your team. And we want to do the same thing with your marketing data. We want you to look at all the data you have available, pull the data from various systems, and use these insights proactively to help you improve your performance. You need to use all your available assets. These can be things such as your events data that happen outside of your typical search display and social campaigns. And additionally, you need to look at your budget constraints that a company may want to meet, either an amount to spend in a certain period or an ROI or even just a revenue target you want to achieve. Combine this with a bidding strategy on a daily basis that can take all of these signals into account. What we need to get is understand whether we can get the best value from the next dollar spent, and understand that actually every time you spend a dollar, then that criteria can change, and you have to then rerun the model again. At Kenshoo, we can take in the event data, such as taking in campaign event data and understand how this is going to affect your paid channels and your bidding strategy. And what we want to do is take in things like event calendars, utilizing portfolio bidding, and making you move from just reactive to proactive marketing. So we see this as optimization beyond bid policy. You guys know your marketing calendar. You know if there's going to be a TV campaign coming. You know if there's going to be a big product push. Cable wants to be able to take in these signals and look to adapt and build with your guidance how we can actually monitor and affect performance. So Kenshoo can also as well help to forecast and give you data-driven decisions leading to better return on ad spend. So what we're talking about here is we're talking about trying to understand what could happen if you spend an extra 20% of your search budget. What would your potential return on ad spend be? I'm sure you're all getting asked that question. What should we be spending next month? The Kenshoo forecast can start to give you the insights about where you need to be spending your money and spending your dollars. We see that this gets a lot of praise in the market because it starts to give marketers comfort and marketers real understanding of what they should be doing and how they should be utilizing it. We also as well hear a lot about our being able to turn our analysis into action. We want to enable people to use our budget pacing and the rules and alerts to efficiently manage your data. So what we want to do is put your marketing strategy into action and apply the changes across your portfolio. Attribution is just a start in the journey, but if you could look to utilize and apply all these rules and schedules across the rest of your system, you're going to be able to drive change in the business. So to summarize where we are as a Kenshoo positioning is we want you to become the proactive marketers. We want you to take the data you have and use this to help optimize your business. We then want you to save time and spend more time on the strategy within your business by making it a more efficient process. And then use the technology that you have to make it simpler. Look at the basic attribution models that you may be missing at the moment, or move forward to the more sophisticated advanced attribution algorithms. Combine this with the budget pacing and the forecasting to help enable you to drive better returns on your advertising dollar. And then ask yourself, how are you going to continually manage and engage on an ongoing basis? So look, to help achieve this, I'd recommend a couple of things. First of all, this is obviously a journey, as we spoke about earlier. This is about building from crawl, walk, and run. But in order to do that, you need to get the exec sponsorship. And to get the exec sponsorship, you need to be able to build a business case. We've got a lot of experience where we've helped companies put those business cases together, and would be happy to help give some guidance on that. Once you have that business case in place, you then need to keep on testing and experimenting, and then retest again. This is a changing environment, and once you have it set, it doesn't mean that it's going to continue to work. And then you need to start to think about, well, right, if I'm only just starting to use the linear models, how can I start to make the next step to the algorithmic? What you need to be able to do is to think about how you can adapt to the next challenge in your environment. And then the last thing is really, is the practice. It is a difficult space. It's an unusual conversation to be having for a lot of us. But I think now we're in an age where we can start to take advantage of a lot of these signals and a lot of this data. So thanks very much for your time today, and I'll pass back to Lauren to help guide us through any questions.
Thanks, Daniel, and thank you both for your great insights. So we're just going to take some questions now. If you have any more, please submit them through the chat box just on the left of your screen. So first question is for Tina. What has Forrester seen in terms of adoption rates for the more advanced measurement and attribution models?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we've seen consistent adoption rates with what we found in the survey, anywhere between 12 to 18% using advanced attribution. Now this is based on a general survey that we administer every year, and those rates have gone up from the prior year. Interestingly enough, when I did my my wave on attribution providers, we talked to a lot of the brands themselves and administered a survey to them. Even though they have access to advanced attribution, not everyone was using them. Only something like 75% of the brands were using their advanced attribution approaches. And I think it's because of exactly what we were talking about here today, is that they had a lot of implications in terms of budget shifts, of making recommendations to invest in specific digital media buys that they weren't comfortable in yet using. That's number one. And number two is that they had to sell in the idea of this new measurement approach to the rest of the organization. I mean, the metric itself, again, they don't change. You're still looking at conversion metrics. You're still looking at CPAs, CPMs, but the way that you calculate it changed, and a lot of brands really struggle with trying to communicate that calculation change to the rest of the organization.
Thanks, Tina. I've got another question here for Daniel, or maybe both of you can chip in. Once you have the insights and data, how do you take the first steps to action, or what are some of the first steps that you've seen clients take to get this the more kind of advanced models off the ground?
So I think that could be a two-part question. In terms of taking action on these results, we've seen it done in a number of ways. Again, so there's some hesitation with taking immediate action. A lot of times it's kind of let's sit and marinate the results within the organization. But once kind of for marketers that really want to see a high change, high impact, we see a lot of marketers looking at these results and immediately trying to identify the right publisher sites that they should put their display ads on, for example, or the right search terms to bid on, at what price. So understanding at what point should they be paying for certain digital media. In one case, I've had a client tell me that he's identified that for them, and I'm not saying that this is a trend, but for this particular brand, they saw that affiliate marketers were not contributing to conversions at all. So he divested significantly from affiliate marketing and put it more in search. And he could do that because of the autonomy and kind of agility that he had within his organization. That, and it was like a department of 7 people, right? So it's easier to make changes. Also, non-kind of marketing strategy and media buying results have happened. We see a lot of organizational shifts happening based on these results. So naturally, if you're going to shift different media buys and marketing strategy, we see a lot of organizations thinking about how can I realign my staff to focus more on, for example, email, right, or display testing. So that's what we've seen as well. And then finally, we've seen new opportunities for tests, right? I talked a little bit about kind of in-market tests and experimental design. What attribution results allow them to do in terms of turning insights to action is identify opportunities where there are gaps in communicating with customers. So for example, while attribution results are very much user level and they can identify, hey, this particular display ad worked, they can take that particular display ad and then potentially test out different kind of creative content offers. They can test out kind of different audience types that they want to buy. So there's a lot of testing opportunities.
think what I'd
Daniel,
add to that from a sort of technology perspective, yeah, sorry, Lauren. I think what I'd probably add from a technology perspective is once you sort of move to those more dynamic attribution methods, you need to then be able to action the data in real time. And what we see a lot of success within our client base once they do start to move to that algorithmic model is actually then being able to automate the changes that they want to see. So again, looking at things like the budget, looking at things like the event calendar that they're actually wanting to be able to, the goals that they want to be able to hit. That's where we start to see the guys taking the next steps into sort of this proactive marketing.
Okay, great. Thanks for that, guys. So that's all the questions we have for today. Just like to thank you all for joining us, and thanks to Tina and Daniel for sharing your knowledge with us. If you have any questions, or any further questions, or you've submitted a question that wasn't answered, please feel free to reach out to Daniel. His details are just on the screen there. And also, please download the cross-channel attribution report from the Kenshoo website in the resources section. We'll also be sending around a video of the session, and we'll also attach this report to that email. So thanks to you all. Thanks again, and have a nice afternoon. Thanks. Bye.